his team. He's using the word resilient. Don't forget, the Bucs have had 4 fourth-quarter and overtime comebacks this season. So, Shannon, what do you think here? Should the Bucs be 3-point underdogs in this game?
I don't think they should, but the odds makers are saying the Bucs have been bad all year. We're not just going to look at an isolated incident in which Tom Brady and this offense seem to find their rhythm against another sub-500 team in the Carolina Panthers and say, you know what? All is repaired. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are ready to take off. That's what the odds makers are saying. We've seen a large sample size. We've seen a body of work which consists of over 17 games. We're not going to say one game and all things have been fixed. Now, I'm looking at, and I'm also looking at the Cowboys. I'm looking at what Dak has been playing like, and it's like, I'm thinking to myself, it should be a 1-point game or even a pick-em ball game. But considering all things, the Cowboys have been a little bit more consistent, the last couple of weeks notwithstanding. But if you look at body of work, Skip, I believe the Cowboys have been more consistent than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the odds makers say we're going to take the Cowboys' consistency over the 17 games versus the Buccaneers' inconsistency over 17 games. Skip, it's hard to believe that the Bucs have fixed everything that's wrong with them one game. So basically, that seems to be from everything that I've read and from what I've been hearing is that it's all repaired. After that Carolina, Tom Brady looked like Tom Brady. Skip, over his first 2 seasons, Tom Brady had 26 touchdowns and 5 interceptions when targeting Mike Evans. This season, even after week 17, that monster game, he has 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions when targeting Mike Evans.
Got it.
So for me, no. The Cowboys, they don't do well on the road in playoff games. If I'm not mistaken, the last road playoff game they won was that Super Bowl year when they went to San Fran and beat the 49ers.
Wow, you're going all the way back.
That's the last time they won a road playoff game. I'm sorry I got to go that far back.
You're going back to 92?
Okay, well.
You mean the breakthrough season when they went out there and beat Steve Young and Jerry Rice?
Yeah, that last time.
Okay, all right. I was there.
Oh, wow. Only the Lions have a longer losing streak on the road than the Cowboys. Yeah, they said last time they won a road playoff game, they beat Steve Young. Most of the Cowboy players weren't even born when that happened.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Because then they got more dominant, and then they're just winning
at home.
Okay, because that year they were clearly inferior to San Francisco until that day at that game, place. Because I think San Francisco was fairly heavily favored, maybe by 5 or 6 points.
Cowboys are 8-1 at home, 4-4 on the road.
Okay, that was the year they broke through because they got Charles Haley away from San Francisco. They broke through a year before they were ready to. They had come of age right before your very eyes, before you thought they would.
Because in '91 they went to Detroit and got run off the field.
Did they? Ooh, I was there for that one. And it wasn't about Barry Sanders, it was about Eric Kramer.
He
just threw a party on
did.
him, and maybe the greatest party he ever threw in his career. But okay, now back to the question: should Dallas be a 3-point favorite on the road at Tampa Bay? Well, I tell you, I always try to guess what the spread will be before it comes out. My initial guess, now this is going back 2 weeks ago, so I hadn't witnessed that nightmare in Washington. I thought Dallas would be a 7-point favorite.
Really?
Yeah, I really did, because Dallas, on paper, if I'm just doing it on paper, is way better than the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have been a bad football team all year. We talked and talked and talked about it. Brady tries to rise above it, and occasionally he did, and occasionally he didn't. But what Todd Bowles is saying is true. All they have to hang their helmet or hat on is, as he said, our guys are resilient. They didn't blink. You know, we didn't blink. Well, he says we stay in every game, even though it may not be clean all the way. We find a way to be in it till the end, and we just have to make a play to win it. Well, I'm looking at what happened. They lost 9 games. They won 8, but they lost 9. And the best game they played was probably the opening night at Dallas. It was 19-3 Tampa Bay. Here comes Dallas again. What goes around came back around. Okay, so then we got the loss to Green Bay at home. It was 14-12, but Brady has the late drive and goes down, and they got to go for 2. And Hainsey, the new center, who'd never played center, he's clapping for the ball, and he doesn't snap it, and they get a 5-yard penalty delay, and it's back, and they misfire. Okay, so they lose 14-12. Then Kansas City went there, and I thought it was pretty dominant Kansas City, but it was 41-31, and Brady hung in there, and there was early in the fourth quarter, you thought, okay, he's going to have to go crazy here, but they hung in the game. But they lost by 10. Then at Pittsburgh, they lose 20-18, and they had chances, and they just didn't cash late. At Carolina, they lost 21-3, but if you look, It's 14-0 going to the fourth, and they suck up, hit a field goal, so it's 14-3, and you're thinking, okay, maybe Brady's going to get hot and do something the way he got hot and did something against Carolina in the final game that mattered, but he didn't. And they lost 21-3, but it didn't seem that bad. Then Baltimore, remember that was a Thursday night. Yeah. It was 27-22. They kind of hung in there, but Baltimore was just clearly better, and Lamar was better.
I think they scored a touchdown late, Skip, to make it 22, and then tried the onside.
Then at Cleveland, they end up losing in overtime. I thought they should have won the game. It's 23-17. And then the one nightmare debacle game, they go to San Francisco. They got outclassed. They got run off the football field by Brock Purdy. It wasn't close because it was over by halftime. Yeah. And it wound up 35-7. So that's the one X game where you just say, okay, that one you weren't resilient in. Right. You didn't have a chance to win that one at all. And then the Cincinnati game, you know, it's like good and awful. But in the first half, they had 17-3 because I thought Brady played maybe it was his best half of the year. Yeah. He was 17-23 for almost 200 yards against a really good Cincinnati defense. 17-3 Tampa at halftime, and then Brady just completely unraveled in the third and early fourth quarter. Gio Bernard missed the fake punt snap. You remember it hit him in the face. He wasn't ready. Okay, that started it, and then Brady turns it over 3 times, which is not like him, and they crumbled and lost 34-23. But you can argue they were in position to win the game. And then I'm not counting the Atlanta game because Brady was out with 4 minutes to go in the first half. But the point is, I like what Todd Bowles said. That's all they got. But if I look at Pro Football Focus grades for this team, they're horrible. Yes. No, seriously. They are, It should be where Dallas should be favored by 7 because Dallas just clearly, in every way, shape, and form, is better than Tampa in every category. But the odds makers also sees that the Cowboys are the Cowboys, and based on their history and the way they play, especially on the road, and where Dak's played in his playoff career, and the way they played down the stretch. Skip, the odds makers got a fact. They're just not trying to give you money. They got to factor all those things in there. So they're trying to, like, hedge it. Okay, we're making 3 points favorite because I will say this, all things being equal, the Cowboys have been more consistent over 17 games than the Buccaneers. Sure they have. Like, way more. Yes. Okay, so Pro Football Focus grades. Brady's offense is graded 23, ranked 23rd in grade. Well, that's horrible. The defense is ranked 20th in grade. Well, it used to be a strength of the team. It's no longer a strength of the team. Why is the offense so bad? Well, the major reason is they can't run a lick. They're dead last in rushing, both in grade and in yards. They're bad in a lot of categories. Third down conversion, Skip, they're bad. Red zone offense, they're bad. All bad. It's just bad, except in passing, they're graded 6th overall. Right. Because that's all they do. They do throw the ball, okay? And that guy can still throw it. Yes. And if you give him a little bit of time, he can still hurt you. But in receiving, their core is graded 19th because they have no speed in their Godwin's possession. And Mike Evans can trick you. You can do the pump and go with him, but he's got to set you up with a 4-yard catch and a 7-yard catch and all the underneath stuff that he does as possession. And then if you do the pump and go, he can get you. And he got Carolina 3 times in that game, as you know. Okay, then you look on defense. The pass rush, as I brought up earlier, it's ranked 29th in the league. They can't rush the passer. But their coverage has been pretty good. It's graded 8th. Right. So I do like the back end of the defense when it's healthy, but it hasn't been healthy all year. Okay? Well, you going to have Carlton Davis? I don't know. His shoulder is hurt because he hasn't been able to play now for 2 weeks. Right. I have no idea. I don't know. You're going to have Hainsey back at center, or is Ryan Jensen going to be able to come back from the quote-unquote football dead because he was gone for supposedly the whole year, and all of a sudden he's practicing. So I don't know. But the point is, all these numbers say this is a bad football team against a very good football team that lost its way down the stretch in games at Tennessee that didn't matter that much, and at Washington, which didn't matter at all. So that's... Okay, does the world not overreact to the Cowboys, good or bad, like unlike any other team in pro football? There's nothing like the overreaction to the Cowboys. Am I right? Right. Okay? No question. Because everybody just goes way over here or way over here. Right. They're great or they're get them out of my sight. Well, right now, it's get them out of my sight. And I'm a victim of that, too. I'm a prisoner of that sort of over-emotion because